live and direct. Sometimes we got to go about looking at life from a perspective, which go about asking, are we being direct with our concerns or the way we go about looking at life? And in that, we have to come to see that why things go in a direction if our approach is off skewed. What I mean by off skewed is if we're only looking at things from one way, but other factors are directing it to go in a manner which goes about bringing clarity. And if we can't see beyond our own way of looking at things, then we're going to be caught in a repetitive cycle. But the reason I go about saying a repetitive cycle is it's almost like a dog chasing his tail. And as that dog continuously run after a flying bird or try to catch a shadow, it has to come to realize that no matter what it tries, because of the way it sees life, it won't succeed. Now, some of us are doing the same thing in our daily lives and wondering why we're not going about succeeding. We're applying the same old methods that does not go about bringing clarity. And because it does not go about bringing clarity, it leaves us estranged. And since it leaves us estranged, we wonder sometimes why everybody else is getting the lesson and we're not. So today, I want us to go about looking at some of the things that we could go about implementing in our lives in regards to changing up things, doing things from a different perspective. We need to make that shift in our lives so that when we go about applying ourselves to whatever it is that we're doing, we go about seeing it from a clear perspective and going about dealing with it. And the cause for concern in this matter is that majority of the poor goes about complaining that they have nothing. But they have nothing because they do not go about making that shift in their lives to go about affecting the outcome of things. If we're doing the same old thing, how in the world are we supposed to go about getting ahead? We can't. Each situation calls for something different and unique. And within its uniqueness, it gives us the ability, if we're open enough, to go about maximizing it. But rigidness brings nothing but disappointment. You see, some of us have become so fixated in our ways and in our ideologies that we can't come to fathom there's a better way of doing things. And because we can't come to fathom that there's a better way of doing things, it's a replicated cycle in which we undertake. But welcome to the channel. This being the humble servant, coming with that motivation. stimulation, and inspiration to go about getting right in life. So that whenever we go about confronting whatever issues that goes about taking place in our life, that we are mindful enough that if we would just go about settling ourselves, analyzing the situation that we're in, that we will go about finding the answer. And in finding the answer, it's all about application. It's what you go about doing to make resolve and get to a better place in your life. So I need for you to go about asking yourself, why then? Why then is this so important? This is important because this goes about affecting you. Change starts when we go about implementing and looking at things from a different perspective. Change does not come from the outside. Change comes from within. Michael Jackson wrote a lyric about it. Let's look at the man in the mirror. Now, if we just take that time to go about doing a reflective aspect in our lives and going about seeing the missteps, the hurt, the plague, the trauma, then we could have learned from those lessons. But because we've been held back and those lessons go about keeping us captive, we do not find advancement. And because we do not go about finding advancement, we more look as if though we're complaining. But it's not that we're complaining. It's just that too many of us have become sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, if you're feeling sick and tired of being sick and tired, then today is that day you got to go about doing something about that. Because if you don't go about making that change, then nothing's going to change. But something strange came to me the other day, in that is it that we as a human being have been programmed to just to go about looking at things from a certain point of view? Is it that we no longer comfort the idea, let's go about testing things? Because when we go about testing things, that's when we go about finding the answers. But because the social environment in which we go about residing in does not promote or stimulate for you to go about challenging things, that's why it has become a second part of your life. But in order for you to go about getting ahead, you must promote challenging things in your life. You must start by challenging yourself, by challenging your concepts, by challenging your ideologies. So you do not come to accept things for the way they are. You see, the one thing that scares humanity is those that go about challenging status quo. Because there are those who do not want things to change. And if there's resistance, or if there's any inclination that you have an idea of what is taking place in your life, then you become a threat. You are no longer seen as docile. But in order for us to go about making that change, there must be certain sacrifices. I'm not promoting that anybody go out and be a martyr, but what I am promoting is everyone going about challenging themselves. And in challenging themselves, it will promote a growth within oneself. And that's where change starts. When one comes to see that the way how we are going about living, it's not beneficial, or it's not healthy. It more goes about promoting a toxicity. Let's look at the country that we're in. The country is so divided that we no longer go about promoting unity within ourselves. We are divided by politics, by religion, by race, by ethnicity. There's so much division that we have become ravaged. But the thing that I come to tell you is that don't lose hope. Don't become dismayed, because you will see. For those who want it, they will go about putting the work in. And that's one thing you must hold on to. See, religions say everything you do is a sin. I say, look for that spirit within so that it can go about giving you that guidance and sense of direction, so that you may know how to go about navigating these channels that we go through in life. Salvation resides within. For the divine has put the spirit of life, knowledge, wisdom, righteousness within you. It's only that you go about grabbing hold of these things so that you may start to live. Because too many of us are not living. We're merely existing. And if we're existing, we're not promoting growth. Our job is to go forth. For even the good book says, I give you a charge. Have as many as the sand on the beach. So now when you see your wife, when you see your husband, say, hey, we got to get busy because we got a job to do. And that job is we got to do our part. And in doing our part, then it goes about promoting life. We're not to be merely satisfied with less. We are to go about seeking and building and promoting. Like I tell everybody, your kids are to be better than you. Your kids are to have the desires, the fulfillments, the wants, but not become complacent in believing that this is enough, this is okay. Your kids are to go about stretching their understanding so that they could go about building upon these things. But unless we take that stance and looking that there has to be a change, because far too long we've been down and we've been held down. And it's almost sickening, because the minute you go about seeing somebody doing something progressive and productive and trying to get up out of poverty, we have been programmed to go about pulling that person right back down. It's almost a crab in the barrel mentality. It's a sickness that we must rid ourselves of, because you see, some of us, we look at life. If it's not me, then nobody's gonna get it. And that's why we go about promoting and blocking our blessings, because we do not give it wholeheartedly. If a next man has the talent, gifts, and the blessings to go about getting it, give that man a supporting hand. Don't hate on that man. For when you give it, it shall return on to you. But you see, this shit hurts when you're in the slums. Because when you're in the slums, it's almost as though it's never ending. And relief can't come fast enough. So within that, we go about developing a parasite mentality. We go about feeding on our own. Now, if we was to go about using that same parasitic viewpoint elsewhere and not going about feeding on our own, don't you think we would make it out of the situation that we're in? But because the system welcomes the idea of us going about holding each other down, us fighting amongst ourselves. Like, one of the things that I go about telling everybody in this circumstances is race is not a real thing, but yet it's promoted heavily in our schools, our religion, and our partaking. How is something that is not real being promoted so heavily? If it's not to go about creating a division between me and you, if we do not have unity, it is easy for division to go about taking place. For the good book says, a house divided will never stand. And since that house is divided, it's easy about conquering them. And that's what's being done to you and me. Open your eyes. See the blasphemy. See the tricks. See the bigotry. See the hatred that is being promoted just so that we go about hating ourselves. And in hating ourselves, it has us feeling lost, unwanted, not being appreciated. But this is where we got to go about making that change. This is where we got to go about making that stance. And that stance is for ourselves. Is it better to grow thirsty, or is it better for you to go out digging a well? If you put the work in, you're going to have something to drink. Thirst is a destruction. Slowly suffering. Pick up your shovel so that you may go about preparing for yourself. Make it so that every day becomes a blessing, because lessons come when we go about invoking that spirit of love. And with that spirit of love, it gives us the conviction to keep going, even when things don't look like it's going to go about amounting to anything. And that's why I go about asking that everybody come to know love, find love in their heart, find love in their ways, so that nothing may go about angering you and causing you to go about being bitter, but more along the notion of going about embracing the idea that everything starts and ends with me. Embrace that idea. Because if you don't do nothing, nothing's going to happen. You do something, something's going to happen. It may not be what you want, but I guarantee you something's going to happen. So let it be. Let you go forth and make it in a way that becoming sick and tired of being sick and tired is not acceptable. We have marched for far too damn long. We have been voting and nothing has changed. When will we stop looking elsewhere and start internalizing what we have to go about doing in order for that change to take place? Religion teaches you that your salvation lies outside of you. But I come to tell you, the Spirit of the Most High resides within you. You have everything you need for this journey. It's only asking that you go about applying it. And in applying it, every day you encounter, look for something greater, so that you may go about seeing that life is that beauty. Now that's my blessing. One.